Hello, Galaxy. I'm Chris Pirillo, and I love sharing my thoughts, opinions, perspectives, advice with you, but one size definitely does not fit all. So if you think about a certain situation differently, or if you have something to add to the conversation, feel free to comment. I appreciate that you do. And of course, if you are listening to me streaming this live on Twitch, then today's topic is a little ironic given that I tried to record it just a few minutes ago and was inadvertently interrupted by my daughter, who was wondering what was going on. You'll understand why that's funny as I dive a little deeper into the question that was asked earlier tonight during the Twitch broadcast. Asked by, ironically, again, this is a night full of irony here, exiled from Twitch TV, that's the person's handle on Twitch, and they asked the question on Twitch, so they weren't completely exiled. Chris, have you ever had to deal with the stress of annoying or rude people at work and trying not to act mad or annoyed? So that's exactly what happened a minute or so ago when I was beginning to answer this question. I had to address my daughter as she trotted into the room asking why I was doing what it was that I was doing. She couldn't figure out why I was saying hello Galaxy all over again, thinking I had to reshoot a video. I wouldn't exactly call this work, but I am producing, I am concentrating, I am focusing on something, and I did have an interruption. So I have had the experience of working with annoying people and rude people, certainly. And my recommendation is to avoid the conflict. Because if you know there's going to be a conflict, you know you're going to run into a problem, avoid it. Carve out some time. Work around the schedule that you know is inevitably going to smack you in the face with being annoyed, being perturbed, getting angry, getting mad. You don't need that in your day. Now, you may not be fortunate enough to be able to avoid someone due to schedules, due to how and where you need to interact with them. There's only so much you can do. But the one thing you can control is how you respond. So you've got to get it through your head that this person who does get you upset may not be cognizant of this fact. They may not realize that you're genuinely upset because they may not see their behavior as rude. That may be normalized to them. And this is something that's difficult to explain unless you've ever been thrust in that situation where everything that you've known over a period of time was normal, right? For me, I'm used to gesticulating wildly and talking with my hands and, projecting with my voice. This is normal. This is how I communicate. It's just the way that I've always communicated. I didn't realize this was an issue until someone had basically said, you don't necessarily have to yell. I'm like, I'm not yelling. But to me, that's not yelling. I may have an elevated voice, an elevated volume, but it's not screaming. I'm certainly not angry. And even when I'm being assertive, I'm not necessarily doing it, because I'm trying to cause someone pain or harm. And certainly not intentionally aiming to hurt someone's feelings, especially with the way that I happen to be putting something across, the way that I happen to be acting. And so I may not have self-awareness. So understand that if someone that you perceive as being rude is doing something, you only gave me a general scenario here. They may not realize it. They may not understand it. And you need to be able to potentially explain that to them, especially if it bothers you. Not saying that's going to be comfortable. Not saying that it's something that you need to confront them on, with force. Making them self-aware without causing any amount of shame is not easy to do. Contextualize what it is they're doing. Do you know, for a flat fact, like with a great degree of certainty, that what they're doing is intentional to make you mad or to annoy you? Do you know that? Okay, so if you know that they're doing it intentionally, then you need to talk to management, because that's a different problem. But if it's more of a they're constantly burping and they're there and that annoys you and it makes you mad because you can smell what they had for breakfast, and like you could say, I know that you enjoy burping and everything, but we share this space together, and I would really appreciate it if you had to do that, if you step outside, because I really don't like being around that. Totally get that you get it. That's fine. I'm not judging you. I'm not shaming you. Burps can be fun. I get that, but I just don't want it around me. Is that okay? And so you're letting them know. You're communicating in some way, because if you don't do that, they will continue the behavior. So you've got, there are many outcomes to this, right? They could double down, or they could be, somewhat, apologetic is probably an extreme version of the word, but, become more aware of what it is they're doing. And maybe they will change their behavior. You can't change someone. You can only change yourself. And you can change how you deal with those situations. So you have a choice of whether or not you work around it, if it's avoidable. You have a choice of whether or not you escalate it, if it's a situation where you need to escalate it because they're being annoying and rude intentionally. Or, and I say escalate it because if they're doing something that, because you're saying you have to deal with the stress of these types of people at work, talk to management, get their feedback to see what kind of course of action could take place. I wouldn't say necessarily talk to HR, but I would talk to your manager. Now, if you're the manager and they're doing this, are you the CEO? Like, how high up could you go? And then, of course, the third potential circumstance that I think is the best scenario, because as long as you do it in a way that you're not filled with anger and in the moment of frustration, in that moment, that's the last thing you want to do. You don't want to lash out. You don't want to make them mad by you being mad first. I get you're mad. I get you're annoyed. I get it. But you need to be able to communicate that in a moment of your own mental clarity. Because if you don't, you're just going to exacerbate the situation. It's going to be worse. Then they probably will double down. And then they'll harbor resentment and anger towards you for speaking up. That's incredibly possible. Now, by the way, if you confront them on their annoying or rude behavior and just say, look, I understand that's a thing that you want to do, and I get it, but this is a shared space, and I would really appreciate it if that didn't happen. Or I really am uncomfortable when you talk about sports. I am not interested. Or you could just say, hey, you know what? You're interested in talking about that stuff. Totally get it. But I'm not, like, at all. Or, hey, it really kind of annoys me when you come by my desk and you do this. I totally get it, and I appreciate it, and maybe we can find something. Maybe we can figure out another way to bond. Maybe we can, just give them an alternative, right? Don't just shut them out. Don't just shut them down. Don't make them feel less than human. Just say, look, I'm just being real. I just want to let you know. It bothers me. And I want to be able to communicate effectively with you. It's just that this is a behavior that I don't find acceptable in this environment. And they have to accept that. Now, like I said, if you're worried, I don't know the situation, but if you're worried that something may happen in an extreme way, run it past a manager first and then confront them on the behavior. Because you could be introducing a different, I don't know how well you know this person, or how well you don't know this person. I don't know if they are a manager, right? At which point you have to talk to somebody else at work who is in a situation to be able to better guide you, is the bottom line. I'm giving you options. That's all. Giving you ideas, because yes, I have dealt with annoying people and rude people, and if I can help it, my first option is usually to avoid those situations. Or think through of, like, can I grin and bear it long enough for them to do what they're going to do, or is this just going to be a constant annoyance? Like, they just can't read social cues, or they don't, listen to the things that I say. They don't know what they're doing. They may never know or understand what they're doing. And that's just going to lead to constant problems for you. So you've got to work to solve that problem, talking to other people who can help you solve that problem. And I wish you well. I wish you luck. But remember, you cannot control other people. You cannot control what they say. You cannot control what they do. You can only control what you say. You can only control what you do.